Anunnaki, Nazis, all right? And they talked about the Anunnaki all the time. They were very into that stuff, all right? For better or worse, they knew all about this stuff. So Anil comes around using the Anunnaki, okay, to start digging out the rich and raw materials from the mines: coal, diamonds, gold, okay, silver, copper, nickel, all right, all that stuff. Anunnaki, though, they're like royal guards. They are elite warriors, okay? They've been busy fighting with the reptilians. Now all of a sudden they're denigrated to slave labor. This pissed them off, okay? Remember, Enlil is playing the role of upper management, Anunnaki playing the role of middle management. There's always the two-party system here, okay? Always that kind of structure. If upper management wants to remain upper management, they got to keep middle management happy. Middle management's now ready to revolt, pissed off, like, we don't have to do this slave labor. You're making us do something that is totally out of our rank, all right? So Enlil goes back to his father and says, I'm having a problem here. We're going to lose this system if we don't get this under control, because the biggest problem here is that this needs to be kept under control so that the queens don't get pissed off. And the reason you don't want the queens getting pissed off is because you got to keep the paycheck going to the queens, because if they get mad, they come down, kill everybody, game over, okay? Like I said, it wasn't profitable to keep a war going with the reptilian empire. It was profitable to work with them, all right? And Anu already had his ego inflated by being the favored feudal lord over all others. So, of course, he wasn't going to screw this around. He stepped on his son and he says, get it under control. The son says, I can't, do something or we're going to be in big trouble. So this is when Anu sends his other children down there, Enlil's siblings, okay? Two others, brother and sister, sends down Prince Ea, okay? And sends down Ninhursag, Princess Ninhursag. This relationship here between brother and sister, okay, even though they were all siblings, he was on one side of the issue. What you see happening here is, as we go along in the discussion, is eventually you're going to realize what gives birth, the feud between him and these two gives birth to this and this, okay? That's why I have the two split up like that. Prince Ea is brought in with his sister because the two of them worked together as master geneticists. In other words, the definition of a true god, okay? And their job was to go into the biological environment of the given planet and create the perfect obedient slave from that environment, because it was realized early on that if you try bringing slaves from another system into an alien system, you have a revolt, you have a psychological snap, you have an emotional breakdown because they're in an alien environment. So you can't just import slaves from another system. It doesn't work. Slaves have to be fostered from the given indigenous environment. This is what makes them so damn valuable, because you have to put effort into genetically enhancing and modifying that raw genetic material that already exists. And when I say raw genetic material, I'm talking about primate ancestors, okay? You see this same issue repeating itself with the Philadelphia experiment. These poor dumb suckers in the Navy who were thrown on that boat, why did they lose their mind? Because they were warped into an alien environment, okay? This was not respected, and the experiment went belly up, all right? But they knew about it. They understood psychology real well. There's two other things I want you to keep in mind in terms of the Moorish legacy, okay? Eventually we'll come to these terms, but I'll put it on here now. Guerrilla warfare. In other words, the underground. And the Masonic method of warfare, which is psychological. Yeah, I can spell. Logical warfare, okay? This one usually overpowers because you have the iron hand of depression, but this one is a thorn in everyone's side, okay? So this is where you'll get this thing going on, the psychological warfare versus guerrilla warfare, all right? We'll get to how that term came into existence. So you got these two, master geneticists, brother and sister, okay? and they're working on creating the perfect beast. And they go through several experiments that are failures. And they're like, we're having a problem here. They couldn't get the beast, because the thing is, you need to create the perfect beast. And of course, this goes back to what I said before, 666, 777, 888, the beast versus godhood, consumer slave versus master investor. Here's where we get the beginning of the beast. And the beast was called the Adapa. Okay? Linguistically, look at what's in here. Adapa, that which mimics. From apa, you get the word ape. Okay? Ape. Okay? As in Planet of the Apes. Which is also a very good piece of invisible college materials, boatloads of symbolism in all of the Planet of the Apes movies. Now, what had happened was they were trying to get to this, and they were having problems. They couldn't get the damn thing to be smart enough to obey commands without being too smart to think, therefore I am. That would have pissed off N.O.I because he was the one put in charge of the operation, okay? To make the Anunnaki happy, Prince Ea, Princess Ninhursag, their sole job was to give the Anunnaki and Enlil good obedient slaves so that middle management would stop revolting and the paycheck would start flowing to the queens again. So they finally, the thing is, in order to get to this point, they kept experimenting. Prince Ea was at his wit's end. All of a sudden, Princess Ninhursag calls him over one day. He says, brother, come here a minute. She's got a smile on her face. She figured out something at the bottom of the test tube. She finally figured out the proper genetic formula for creating the perfect Adapa. So what does this really mean? You have this brother and sister relationship, male and female. It was a woman that created man, and it was a man who put his seal of approval on it. Okay? This ends this long, ridiculous argument, is God a man or a woman? God is both the man and the woman, represented by the yin-yang relationship, which doesn't necessarily have to do with sexual relations between men and women. It has to do with the brother and sister relationship of godhood. Okay? The power to create life from the given environment, from the raw genetic material, which was the Adapa. And what you have with the Adapa is this overgrown ape-like thing that could stand upright. That was a key thing. Why? Because if you look at our primate cousins today, they can't stand upright because the muscles in their hind quarter and in their pelvic bone won't allow them to. They can do it for maybe a couple minutes, but that's it. They don't have the muscular structure. So one of the adaptations that had to be made, or modifications, was to create the beast with the lower leg power to lift. They already had the upper body strength, which was tremendous, okay? This is why chimpanzees are so damn volatile, and you hardly see them in movies, as opposed to orangutans, which are much more docile. Chimpanzees will kill you, okay? And that was the biggest mistake that was made here, was that primate ancestor to us on the chimpanzee was chosen, okay? So not only do you get the obedient Adapa, but eventually along the way, there's that other hot-blooded essence running through that it eventually contributes to rebellion, okay? So the Anunnaki start employing the slaves, the Adapas, our primate ancestors, to go to work in the mines.